Aloha from Hawaii, Erin here, and thank you so much for tuning into this video. The first thing I'd like to do is just have us, me and whoever else is watching it, even if it's at a different time, we're all like connected beyond time and space anyway, so just take a breath, tune in with yourself a little bit. There's a lot going on right now on every level. It really feels like there's a lot going on in the world. There's coronavirus stuff, quarantine, social distancing still happening. There's all this racial tension coming to kind of like a burst in the United States. And on top of that, I've really noticed with not just my own personal life, but other people's life, people who are close to me, things going on that level too. And, if you're into astrology, there's a lot of stuff going on with astrology that kind of points to this. But, that's kind of like some woo-woo stuff for some people. But, look into it if you're interested. So yeah, I think, with all the stuff that is going on, it's very important to just check in with yourself and breathe and center and like ground and be present when you can. Because, something I really learned in my experience is that oftentimes the really hard stuff, the most challenging parts in life that we all go through, they lead to some really big growth and breakthroughs if we're like willing to do the work, get through it, and then allow the expansion to happen. It's like the compression and then the expansion. So yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna be talking about the question, is art supposed to be is art supposed to be pretty, beautiful / pleasant to look at? And I feel like this is it really, I got a lot of different answers. I don't even feel I know that I got a bunch of different answers, and different people gave me feedback on their opinion. My friend Elizabeth McDougall was like, this is a weird question, like art can be like whatever you want it to be. Like there's like art can just be whatever it can be. And she is like a super creative person, like tuned in with a lot of different artists and musicians and creative types. So, to me, that answer, of course that makes sense. I'm just gonna share a couple like specific answers. People actually reached out to me and said, my friend Jay Lopez, who I went to school with growing up, he said, I'd say yes, but only because certain people will find certain pieces pretty / pleasant to look at, while others don't share that same view. But all art is beautiful in its own way. At least that's how I view it. So that was Jay's input. I really liked that too. Acknowledging like different people think different things are beautiful. And it's like a really subjective kind of question, like what is pretty and stuff. And then my friend Gabby Zamaripa, who I went to high school with, she's an artist. I don't actually know Jay Lopez. I don't know if he does art or not, or at least identifies as making art, but Gabby does. She's a photographer. She's a mama, and she also does makeup art. So she said both. Art is supposed to start a conversation, little heart emoji. And I really like that. And actually, I was rereading her answer, and I realized I had misread it. I thought she said art is supposed to be a conversation, but she said art is supposed to start a conversation. And that's a really good perspective too, because a lot of art is meant to like stir up things inside of us or outside of us that we weren't aware of, or we're kind of denying. So I'm going to move into my opinion about this question. It's my perspective. I'm an artist. I make art every day. I call myself an artist of life because to me, my creativity and my expression of art really transcends the paper and the pen, or the pencil and the paintbrush. My art is in my relationships, it's in my style, the way I dress, the way I present myself, how I put together a room, cooking, my vocabulary, my speech, the way I move, the way I take care of myself, singing. To me, with the relationship I have with art really transcends those boundaries, and that's my own personal thing. I'm not saying that's what art has to be for everyone, but something I feel like I've been really called to is to make art accessible for everyone and to really bring out everyone's inner artist, because we all have it inside of us, whether we know it or not, based on different conditioning and different ideas we've kind of picked up from, media, society, art teachers, different people. So, so I keep saying so. I'm gonna work on that. Art. What is art to me? I feel like I should say that before I go into this too. Art is an interpretation and representation of reality. Or a representation and interpretation of the human experience. And even if you're painting the life of a gecko or something, it's really how we're perceiving the life of a gecko and what we research into that. So, that's, for at least where I stand right now with thinking about art, that's what art is to me. And that can be so much. And it's also, art is also just bending and forming and molding reality, creating, making things. So art can be so much. For me, art is a way to express, art is a way to share, art is a way to share love and amplify beauty and connection and things I appreciate. I use art as a tool for manifestation. I use art as a tool for shadow work, the parts of myself and my experiences that I'm kind of shameful about or embarrassed about or have some negative emotions about. I use art to journal, to remember things, to just meditate, even just not think. So art for me is this super broad thing. I can totally see if somebody's relationship with art is something that they put on their wall or they put as their phone background, something to look at and add to their wall, which I totally have that relationship too, then yeah, it should probably be pleasant to look at. I don't really want to put a bloody horror scene on my living room wall and look at that to me, that's not pleasant to look at. So different types of art, yes, definitely should be pleasant to look at. I think, in a hotel lobby, you want it to look nice. And, traditional commercial art for a consumer to decorate or, experience 100%, yeah, it should probably look nice. You don't really want to bring that weird vibe into your space of looking at something unpleasant every day, because that would just that's a seed you don't really want to plant. So from that perspective, I totally agree. Yeah, art should look nice. And then also if you're just learning how to make art, it might not look nice. I think that it's good to kind of break that down, because that can discourage a lot of people from making art. People who I'm like fortunate enough to where like I started making, officially I say I started making art whenever I was 5 because I have, or 4, because I have this memory of being in my family's like little apartment complex, like sitting at the table, like just being 5 and drawing this cute little horse from this book that showed you how to like use forms to create stuff. And like it was like, I mean, it was cute, like it was a cute little horse, like my mom kept it and it was cute, but it wasn't like not like pretty, like it wasn't that good at all. And I'm sure I had been drawing before that since I knew how to make like a circle and stuff, but I've been drawing for like a really long time. I've been making art for a really long time, and it's something that comes to me very easily and intuitively. I understand it. I do a lot of experimenting, but I know how to make art. I got to have a really good art teacher growing up in elementary school, and Miss Kleckler, and I got to like take art classes. My parents put me in like art drawing classes and art classes when I was like probably 10, and in middle school I actually don't remember like making that much art. I got really into like editing photos in middle school, mostly selfies. I had an iPhone, so I just did all this crazy stuff with my photos. And then in high school got into photography. I kept doing art. I like went to state for art stuff. But anyway, like that's not really what this is about. Like I'm just saying like I have a lot of experience with art, and as someone who doesn't and is like, like me with surfing or something, like I've never surfed. I want to, but I'm like super intimidated by it. Because it's like I'm probably gonna suck, embarrass myself, or like something. Like, not that that matters. Honestly, surfing is a little different because I'm mostly just scared I might die. But okay, here's a better example, is like singing. I'm like a pretty new singer, and singing is very intimidating to me. I've sang in front of people. I'm a lot better than I used to be, but I remember the first time I sang in front of people, I was 21 or I was 22. Louise was little, and like I brought her like with me. Some nice people watched her, and I like sang in front of everyone, and it was like it wasn't that good. I was really quiet and like really shy, and I kind of sucked. And like, music, music should sound pretty and pleasant, to some people's view, but if you don't suck sometimes, you're never gonna get to that place, so yeah. And like that's also with the assumption that like all art and all music is like for the enjoyment of everybody else. Like to me, I make a lot of art that people never see. I have maybe thousands, like so many pieces of art that are gone forever. They like were in my room, they got thrown away, like moved away, like different stuff like that. And a lot of those pieces of art were to help me grow in different ways, grow as an artist, grow as a human being, like drawing how I'm feeling. That's like a huge way I process my emotions, and it's like usually not pretty emotions. And that kind of brings me to like the big picture of what my perspective is like art is interpretation and representation of the like human experience or reality, and that reality is not always pretty. That reality is not always pleasant to look at. This is something I had been in denial for a while, and it really hindered my growth. Whenever I really started to accept that, there are parts of life that, you can find the golden nuggets, like always. There's always light and there's always dark. But there's not always only light and there's not always only dark, like yin and yang, like yin and yang. There's like shitty parts in life, like excuse my language, but there are just some like really fucking not fun times in life. We've all experienced that. And we all will. And there's also some like really awesome, beautiful parts of life. And I think it's important to represent both. There's a lot of stuff going on in America with like racism, systematic racism, and like individual racism, and like I've seen it. Like I've seen people be racist, and you know, a lot of the art that's going to come out of this is not going to be pretty to look at. And the thing is, like, there's like a lot of reality in there that's not pretty, but we need to look at it. So that's my perspective on it, is like reality is full spectrum as far as ugly and pretty, you know, very subjective things. But so art, I like totally messed that up. Reality is a full spectrum experience, and I think art is supposed to be too, you know. Who's to say like what's supposed to be? But I think, you know, the highest expression of art is the full spectrum, because if we leave out one half of it, we're really leaving out a lot. And you know, there's a lot of art that's really, it's not going to go on your house, but it's going to be in a museum, or it's going to go around on social media, that makes us think and makes us question our reality and change our reality. So art's a really cool thing. And you know, one thing I just wanted to kind of throw in there here at the end, if you've made it this far, thanks for listening. I wanted to throw in like a little exercise for anyone who's interested like in using art as a tool. Like I had mentioned, like I use art to process emotions. So something I don't like have, and I mean, I don't even think I would really want to share this notebook. It's like it's like, you know, your diary, your journal, like, but I've like experienced like some deep, dark emotions, like never diagnosed with depression, but like feeling like, you know, those kind of symptoms of like feeling really tired, like not wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to like take care of Louise, not like wanting to live life, like not really wanting to die, but like having that inside of me, those kind of thoughts and like feelings and stuff, like and art, and also, you know, like expressing it helped me to kind of work with that instead of denying those things. Any kind of a negative emotion you have, you can like draw it on a piece of art, a piece of paper. You can paint it. Paint whatever that feeling is, whatever that emotion is. And by acknowledging it and getting it outside of yourself and looking at it, you're taking away power from it. These shadow things, these negative, painful emotions that we are ashamed of and we hide, they thrive in the dark. They thrive when not looked at. They thrive. That's like where their power is. And whenever we look at it, then it's like we have something we can work with. You can have a conversation. You can make it into like a little ugly little nasty monster that talks, and you can have a conversation with it, be like, hey, like, I don't like want you to be here. Like, I recognize your existence. Like, you can exist, but just like not around me. And it'll like probably try to come back, whatever it is, hatred, anger, frustration. But whenever you can make a piece of art or turn it into something that you can talk to or work with, you have the power to like maneuver this energy. You know, you can paint, and then you can paint it like getting smaller, big monster, and then you can paint it a little smaller and a little smaller, and you can like work with that. And every time it comes up, you get to create the narrative around these emotions, these thoughts, these feelings. You can turn it into something else. You have the control. Like, you're the one telling the story of your life, and art is a really good way to tell that story, especially if you're a very visual person like I am. So give it a try. You know, if you're interested in this, like, message me. I might do like a little video being more specific about that. And I'm also wanting to start actually teaching people these tools I use, like teaching people how to like do basic art stuff. Like there's just some basic things that you can learn to be able to create stuff that like looks a little better, or not even looks better, but just being able to take what's in your head and make it a reality. Like I have had a lot of art school practice and like different things, but just like the way I am, the way I operate best is like I just like to have an idea and figure out how to make it a reality. Even if it's not the traditional method, I just like to do it in the way that works for me. So if you're interested in learning like non-traditional kind of art tactics that are really accessible to anybody, I'm gonna open up like some, like maybe like five spots to like teach people some art and creative processes. And I've worked in like pretty much every medium. Not really, but like I worked painting, drawing, marker, ink, prints, clay, beading, collage. I do a lot of digital work. That's like kind of what I'm strictly focusing on right now, but I can teach anything and I can get the supplies to like show whatever. Music, I'm not going to teach music, I'm just going to do visual arts, but I've done textiles, like sewing clothes and stuff, like really anything. Like I've done oil, I've done acrylic, I've done watercolor, like just kind of you name it, I've probably tried it and been able to like create a vision with it. Like I've dyed fabric and stuff. Like it's, once you like know how to maneuver reality in the artistic way and like figure out how to get what you want, and you understand a few like very basic things, you can create anything you want if you really want to. So I'm going to open up 5 spots to teach some people about creative process, like how do you be creative? How do you create? That's like something that people think is only reserved to like gifted people who are born with this ability to create. Like that's just not true. Like whenever something I've learned like as an artist is there's times like I don't necessarily feel super creative, and that's okay. Like you go through your flows, and there's also ways to get that creative energy flowing even if you're not feeling it. There's tons of things you can do. There's tons of things. And I'm also going to teach like color, how to make colors, different colors, how to work with color and emotions, different things like that. And a lot of this is really just kind of like intuitively learning about yourself. We all have this inside of us. It's really just about awakening. I'm not even going to teach, it's not even about teaching you or whoever how to make art. It's about teaching you how to connect with your own inner source of creativity, your own inner artist of life. So if anyone's interested, 5 spots to teach people. I'll probably like make more videos like this talking about different stuff because I've been really feeling called to anyway. So yeah, if you're interested, like comment on this, or like, I feel like people sometimes don't really want to comment, just like send me a message. It's nothing like super official yet, but if someone's like, I want to start now, I'll start. I don't have a website or anything yet, but we can totally get it set up if you're wanting to learn how to get those creative juices flowing. And that's all. Thanks for tuning in. I love you and have fun creating. I'm gonna show you this beautiful view before I get off and go probably have a snack or something. I don't know. Dun, 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 dun. It's super bright. You can't see, but the ocean's right there. I don't know why it won't focus, but peace out, everyone.